Hey, what's up? I'm Leah. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you've been with me on this journey for a little while, we've been through a whirlwind. And if you're new here, thank you so much for coming. You're welcome anytime. Today we're talking about 7 signs you're a chosen one and don't even know what's going on over there. Don't even know what's happening, right? You're a chosen one, don't even know it. You're like, I don't even know what a chosen one is. You're a chosen one because you're up to greatness, not up to status quo, not up to the mainstream. You're a chosen one and don't even know it when you're feeling really bright and happy and you walk out of the house and you have a smile on your face and everyone's like looking at you strange, like you killed a puppy or something. You're like, what just happened? Is everybody okay? And it's only the other people who are like you, bright lights, who aren't afraid of you. Seriously, sometimes you could just be smiling and say hi. Like not some big aggressive, like, hey, what's up? You know, all super masculine or something. Just, hi. Hi. And only people with that light in their eye will be like, oh, hi. Right? A lot of other people may act like they don't even speak English, and you might wonder if they do. It's a very bizarre thing. So that's a sign. You are a little different, right? Like, your light is what makes you beautiful. And you might be like aesthetically pretty, like you have stuff that is nice about you, right? But you might be a little different. And it's your light that people like. But that's also what people hate about you. Because they're like, how can they look different and have people still like them? Don't they know they're not following the rules? Don't they know that we think that they look stupid? Like, I know I've gotten that. I've been made fun of my whole life for having big teeth and not big full duck lips. I don't have lips or something. And, you know, then I lost my eyebrows to cancer and I got them tattooed. I mean, I am a target practice for people to make fun of. Maybe you're a little different. Maybe you have some quirks about you that aren't mainstream beautiful or mainstream hot, handsome guy. And yet, you're still able to connect with people and like really handsome or really hot chicks or whatever you're into still like you and find you attractive, because it's not all about your looks. Like, there is some of that. Maybe, you know, there's, like I said, things about you that are beautiful, don't get me wrong, but you might be a little quirky. So that's gonna upset people who are, you know, the rule is you have to have full lips and you have to do your everything like this, and you're not dressing or behaving the way we dictate. How dare you be still likable? Like, that really makes people mad. Number 3. What's number 3? Number 3. Oh, duh. You've studied a lot about narcissism. You've studied a lot about narcissism. Maybe that's what brought you to my channel, because I was doing this whole series on narcissists. And I'm not going to stop because there is a theme. There is a theme. A lot of chosen ones. Oh, I didn't even discuss what it means to be a chosen one. Let's double back on that. What it means is that you really are up to something bigger. You're not the rule. You're the exception to the rule. That's going to really irritate people. And it's not that you don't follow the rules, but again, you're the exception to the rule, meaning like maybe you don't have that mainstream beautiful thing and yet people still really like you and find you attractive, or things like that. But the other side of it is that you actually follow the rules more than other people in some ways, meaning not follow the rules because you're not a sheep. You're also not like a groupthink person, but you listen. And when it's important, you follow direction. That's what I should say. You follow direction really well. So when I was in my like early 20s, 510 years ago, I I had first moved to LA, and I was like trying to, you know, just get work, any kind of work, and not any kind of work, let's be real. There are boundaries. But I did some extra work, which is, that could be kind of bottom of the barrel for some people who know what that's like, but it also can be really great because it can teach you a lot. And whenever I worked extra work, I would be singled out. I would be singled out because I would be the exception and not the rule. And that irritates some people. So I remember working this huge, the Ali movie, if you've seen it. I mean, there were like at least 500, maybe 1,000 extras because they had these huge stadium scenes, and there were a lot of cardboard cutout people, but then there were also a lot of people because it was huge stadium and they had to make it look filled. So at least 500, I think maybe 1,000 or more even, I don't remember, but it was a ton. I mean, it was buses of extras. We had to go to this one location. We all had to get on a bus. We had to take the buses to another location. There were like 5 buses. I don't know. Anyway, a lot of people, you get the point, right? So the call time was like 4 in the morning in the middle of nowhere. And the directions from Central Casting was to have your hair in curlers. You had to have your hair in curlers because they had to get through a massive amount of people. They had to do hair and wardrobe on all the extras, which is like almost unheard of, right? You don't do hair and wardrobe on extras. You normally dress the part, but because it was set in the 70s, they wanted big hair and they wanted specific 70s clothes. So the directions were to wear curlers. 500 to 1,000 people, you get the idea, show up at 4 in the morning to get on buses to go to set. Who is wearing curlers? I am. Who is not? Everybody. Except my one friend who I've been friends with for 20 years now, Natalie. A little shout out to Natalie. Only other person who followed directions. Only other person. I mean, these directions were highlighted. They were emailed to us. They were texted. It was so important. Blah, blah. You have to do this. I mean, nobody else followed directions. We asked other people, because Natalie and I saw each other right off the bat on the bus at 4 in the morning. We asked other people if they heard that direction. Everyone heard the direction. No one did it. They didn't want to. So, meanwhile, Natalie and I show up to set, and who do they not have the vouchers for work for? Natalie and I, the two people who followed the directions. So this is what I mean about, like, you follow directions, but then you get almost like this weird punishment for actually following the direction. And then it wasn't a punishment, but it was a very rare circumstance. And it actually ended up being the best day because we were getting paid. And Natalie and I became fast friends, and we hung out at craft service and ate for like 4 hours. Then we go to the big stadium, and cardboard people, all these people, right? Michael Mann singled me out. See, you'll be singled out. You'll be the exception, not the rule. I'm not the hottest girl. I'm not the whatever. I mean, I did model in my 20s. I will say that because I'm tall, lanky, right? But I don't have the perfect everything, whatever. But he singled me out of these massive amounts of people. He calls down to somebody handling us in the stadium. And I hear him over the intercom, and he's like, I want that blonde. It was a natural blonde. I want the blonde, and I want her to be a ring girl, and I want to give her a line. That's like unheard of, right? I mean, it happens, but it's like the dream come true stuff. To be in a huge movie as an extra, you get a line out of nowhere. He calls you out of the thing. So we go, she hustles me backstage because they want to get me in a different outfit and hair and makeup and stilettos and all this stuff, right? And I can hear Michael Mann talking on the overhead intercom the whole time. And then when I go back to hair and makeup, the hair and makeup girls were so jealous because how does she get that? How does she get that? She's not even the hottest one here. I could hear them talking. She's not even the hottest one here. How does she get that? Why does she get that? That is so unfair. She's going to get such a huge bump and blah, blah, blah. And like, I could hear them talking, and it was so awkward because I'm like, I'm right here. So they put me in this wig, and I guess because they thought I was in the other scene, but I'm in a stadium scene. No one's going to point me out. that they better put me in a wig, but I don't think so. I think what they did was they were trying to sabotage me because they were jealous because I heard them talking. And so then I go back out and Michael Mann's like, why did they put her in a wig? I liked her natural hair. Like, take the wig off. And they never did. You get the point, okay? Are we on number, now I have to double back. I'm like doubling back all over the place, whatever. So the number 3 about researching narcissists is that when you're singled out that way, you start going, why are these like exceptional things happening to me? But then why do I keep getting like dropped on my, like, you know what, derriere? I've never said that word before. You're welcome. And so that happens. And so then you start looking into it, or maybe relationships. You're in different relationships where people are so hot and cold with you. And so then they might go, you're a narcissist. And you're like, what is that? I don't even know what that is. And so maybe you go into therapy going, am I a narcissist? What's happening? And you keep researching and doing work on yourself. And you're big into empathy, like you feel people. Maybe you're an artist. That's why I've noticed that it runs rampant in the arts. It is an actual fact. Dr. Drew, when he was working with Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla back in the day, and he was working at a treatment center in California, and he mentions a lot that that's when he realized that with 99.999% of these famous artists that he was working with had suffered from narcissists and narcissistic abuse. And that's what led to their drug addiction. I mean, 99.999%, that is a lot of people saying the same thing over and over. Then I started noticing it in my studio a lot. I started noticing it with myself. So you go into this deep dive into narcissism. And then, of course, the narcissist always flippantly will blame you more and be like, well, you're the narcissist, calling people narcissists. And you're like, no, I'm just looking at human behavior. And I've actually researched into if I am and like done the deep dive full blast. So if that's you, you're very Mel. What? You very well may be a chosen one. If you get tongue-tied, if you speak in tongues, you might be a chosen one. So yes, like Jesus, Buddha, Mother Teresa, these are chosen ones. And of course, these are at like the highest level. So it might sound really narcissistic of us to be like, oh, it's because I'm like Jesus. That's why people are so mean to me. But in a way, it's true. Which brings me to my next point. I mean, there's levels of enlightenment. I know that I'm not as enlightened as Jesus because I still have that anger. Not that he didn't ever get upset, but I still have judgment and anger in my body. So I'm working on it. So I'm not at that level for sure. I don't know how to walk on water or turn water to wine. You know, working on these things in my free time. But you might have these special other abilities where you do see into things. So the other sign that you might be a chosen one to actually be the exception and not the rule, like as big as Jesus, you could be. Why not? You could be as big as Mother Teresa. It's in you. They're made of the same stuff. So when it comes to politics, you look at policies and not marketing and not groupthink. So you might agree with one party on one thing and another party on another. They hate you for that. You are supposed to have groupthink. If you've always been a critical thinker and looked at people for the content of their character, rather than gossip or popularity contests, if you've always been friends with lots of different groups, like if you were in high school and you were friends with the drama dorks, you know, and then also like the cool kids, and then the jocks, and then the like grunge or whatever, depending upon what era you grew up in, right? But if you were friends with people in every group, then you might be a chosen one, see? And that's where you can compare yourself to somebody like Jesus, because Jesus would sit down with anybody. He wasn't like, oh, you know, Jebediah had said he saw you, and so I don't associate with people like you. I'm canceling you. Even if he disagreed with somebody, he's going to sit with somebody. And I think that's the message of somebody like that, is to learn and sit and grow and evolve from people. But it doesn't mean subject yourself to abuse. Another one is you don't mind being alone, like at all. You really don't mind it. And actually you might find yourself needing that time to get back to your own energy, because you are so empathetic. Like you suck in the energy of other people a lot. Like you feel so much of everybody else that sometimes you just need to separate and come back to yourself, to base camp, while other people have to be constantly surrounded by other people. You really need that time alone. And the last one is you might have a lot of anxiety because you're very intentional. You've done a lot of work on yourself. Maybe you're really spiritual or religious, or you do a lot of therapy, you read a lot of books, a lot of self-help. Like you're really into evolving. Like you soak it up and you're open to information, and you humbly take information and adjust and change. And you're not so pompous to be like, I'm right all the time. But you evolve. You're constantly growing. You're constantly evolving. So you're allowing yourself to be flexible. You allow yourself to change your mind. You allow yourself to expand your consciousness. And while you're doing that, you might notice friendships shift dramatically. Because if you're not playing into an old paradigm, and if somebody's not like growing with you, then it's very easy for people to just turn their back on you and maybe call you names or gossip about you. But you also begin to attract a lot of other people who you notice are this same way. And so maybe this video found you, or you found it, because something is registering where you're like, I have always been a little off center, but in a really good way. People have always loved and hated me in a very odd way. I've always been friends with everybody and tried to be really fair and see different sides of the story. But a lot of times, whether it be with religion or a certain clique, there comes a point where the clique or the religion or the group says, we're right and everybody else is wrong. And when you say, oh, wait, hold on, I don't adhere to groupthink like that, because that's an impossibility with mathematics, that I can agree with every single thing that you're going to say without offering any critical thinking. Because as a person who's always evolving, you're always changing, you're critically thinking, you're open to ideas. I'm never scared of ideas, because either somebody is going to teach me something, even if it hurts me and it humbles me, it's going to teach me, or I'm going to be more sold on my own beliefs. So you've never been scared of ideas. Whereas other people might be like, you're not allowed to even hear of ideas because it's going to sabotage the world. But you know that you're strong enough to hear ideas and sift through and trust your emotional intelligence and trust all the work you've done to be able to discern and decipher what you believe and what you don't, moment to moment. not that it's so flippant, but moment to moment, you're flexible. You're open to the now. So let me know if any of these symptoms have affected you, if you've noticed any of these things, because this is actually a really good sign, believe it or not, because some of the most talented musicians and artists and actors, I mean, actors are artists, but artists, essentially, anybody creating anything, by the way, is an artist. So you could be a businessman, that's an art. You could be a chef, a mechanic, that's an art. So if you're up to big artistry, if you notice that you're the exception, not the rule, then this was for you. This message was for you, to let you know to continue, that we're all connected. We really are. And the messages that I've seen like this have resonated with me so much. So now I want to give it back, because it's not just empaths versus narcissists or men versus women. It's really the people who are brave enough to just look at people on an individual basis. Be here now, even if it hurts sometimes, and even if it's humbling. I know for me, sometimes, you know, when I look at myself, I know I have this masculine edge. And on one half, that's like really who I am. And then the other part of me goes, that's not really who I am. That's a defense. That's a protective defense. So I can see why, especially some men, would be unattracted to that. And other men will try to overpower it. So I've attracted some jerks. I get that about myself. I know that I'm not perfect in many ways beyond that. So if you've taken this deep dive and you've recognized things about yourself humbly, and you're open to constantly changing, then I want you to know you're not alone. You're not. And if you want to take a deeper dive on this stuff, I teach the Meisner technique, which is an acting technique to help you get out of your head and into your heart, so you can really trust your impulses in a healthy and expansive way. I also work with people in law of attraction, in meditation, yoga, in private coaching, helping find your life mission, your purpose, helping heal old traumas. So I'm not a therapist, but what I do is I come at it from this spirituality base. I come at it from my own wisdom and knowledge of all the years I've spent as an artist, and all of the information and wisdom that I've learned over 20 years of researching human behavior. So if you want a deeper dive, you want to work with me, I am taking on a few more private coaching clients. So you can click the link in the description and see if we can hook you up with a time slot, because space is limited. So that's it for now. I'll see you in the next video. And that's it. Have a great day. You're awesome. Don't stop believing, just like the song said. It's true. Bye.